Hey guys, this is Matt, also known as Animat, and welcome to not just any ordinary Patreon vlog. We are going to be looking into a very special Patreon vlog that only you guys can check out. So, the one thing that I want to do in here is that normally, as you guys know with my Patreon vlogs, is that I would normally look into the things I have done this week to give you guys a little bit of an update on the progress I have done in terms of my videos. But this time it's going to be a little bit different. We're not just going to be looking back into what I've done this week. We are pretty much going to be looking back at what I've done this year. So this is a very special Patreon vlog year in review with my videos and pretty much my accomplishments that I have done. Now, the first thing that I want to pretty much say is that I understand that a lot of people will say that 2016 is a really bad year. Like, a lot of them will say that it is just a flat-out disaster, rather it be with the numerous of celebrities that passed away, or Donald Trump being president of the United States, and so much more. But if you would have to tell me personally, like, if you ask me personally, how was my 2016? And honestly, I would tell you, I actually had a really good year in terms of the things I have done. Now, I know that there have been a lot of bad things that happened in 2016, but that's just regarding in the news, like what is happening in the world. But with my life, I'm actually pretty happy with the things that I have done. And considering that I have achieved so many things and tried out new experiences and honestly, like, even made myself better as a person in general, like, rather it be, like, improving my personality, like, I'm not saying, like, I have, like, huge psychiatric problems or stuff like that, but just, you know, just make myself more of a good person and stuff like that, and also, especially health-wise, since 2016 is actually the first year where I pretty much, like, through and through, pretty much stuck to a massive schedule where I go at the gym and do a lot of exercise, and a lot of people are actually noticing that my appearance looks look a lot better actually. So it's actually working out. But anyways, in terms of the videos that I've done, yeah, I really did accomplish a lot, and a lot of milestones happen in terms of my videos in 2016 actually. So to begin with, let me start things off with the main show, Animation Look Back, and yeah, like when the year began, I pretty much ended off Animation Look Back Studio Ghibli, which unfortunately, like, some people could probably debate that it could be a little bit dated considering that this year Hayao Miyazaki did announce that he's going to be coming back to make another animated feature, and Animation Look Back Studio Ghibli was supposed to commemorate this end of an era for Studio Ghibli that we have seen all the Hayao Miyazaki films and all the Isao Takahata films and stuff like that. It's just, for fudge sakes, you know? But anyways, no, like, I do hope that everybody still enjoys Animation Look Back Studio Ghibli nonetheless. No, but the big thing, the big Animation Look Back of this year is actually of Looney Tunes. And I decided to go all out to do something a lot more special with this animation look back, where this is completely different from the others, where the format, I pretty much changed it a little bit to be more like the Epic Mickey files. And at the same time, I decided to do this entire homage to the Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner movie, one of my personal favorite childhood feature films, actually. And, yeah, like, the things I have done in there, yeah, like, it required a lot of hard work, but honestly, I really am glad with the things that I have done there, actually. Like, it required a lot of, like, well, not special effects, but I mean, like, a lot of effects in which I have to use, a lot of green screening, where I had to go and get a lot of props and stuff like that, where I had to buy a lot of material just for research, like, not just the things that I looked up on the internet, but even books, a lot of Blu-rays and DVDs. So, like, I had to use a lot of resources, but I'm glad that it actually turned out very well, and I'm glad that a lot of people are really enjoying it. So, hey, I'm really happy about it, and I would say that the big first one, animation look back, like the history of Looney Tunes, is probably one of the big highlight videos that I have done. So definitely one of the best videos I've made in 2016. All right, now with that said, looking into the category of Animats reviews, and I'm talking about like the main Animats reviews where I review animated feature films that were released in theaters. Wow, this really has been a massive mix. And oddly enough, it is still very well balanced because at the same time, like sure, we got some really, really bad animated films, but still we had some amazing ones. Like really, a lot of the ones that are considered the best, like they would have easily been the number one animated film of 2016. I mean, like we've had so many great films so far. And I mean, the ones that I can think on top of my head, like, of course, the ones released by Disney are all spectacular. Like, you got Finding Dory, you got Moana, and then you got Zootopia, which, for the first time in 6 years since, I believe, Toy Story 3, in terms of Animats reviews, it was the first time ever that I finally released a review of an animated film where it actually got a perfect score of 10 out of 10. I kid you not, it was actually one of the hardest movies I had to review because I actually spent days trying to really think about flaws. Like, what is it that during my experience that I find that I could actually criticize or something that could have been better? And honestly, I couldn't think of anything. Like, it really was such a phenomenal film. I kid you not. So, yeah, you definitely have a lot of fantastic films. But at the same time, you also get a lot of really terrible films at the same time. Like, the ones that I can think on top of my head that were just god-awful. Like, Ice Age Collision Course. Like, that is the definitive example to pretty much declare that the Ice Age movies really need to die. Other ones, like The Wildlife, is one of the most boring films I've ever seen. Like I said in my review, I remember more, like, when I was reading another review while I was watching the film. Don't worry, I wasn't bothering anyone. I mean, who would actually go and watch Ice Age in theaters beside me? Other than that, there was also, oh god, the Ratchet and Clank review. Oh my god. Man, let me tell you, I have made a lot of Ratchet and Clank fans salty. Not all of them. Like, there are some that actually do agree with me, and they do say that it is a misrepresentation of the video games, and they still plead to me that I should actually go and play the games, which I will put in consideration when, like, the time would actually come when I do Let's Plays and stuff like that. Like, when my Patreon reaches $1,000 a month and stuff like that. But going back into the Ratchet and Clank review, my god, this is the one review where apparently I made a lot of people salty. Like, in 2015, it was the I think it was the Hotel Transylvania 2 review. Although, like, the saltiness in there wasn't as bad as some of my other ones, but in here, yeah, with Ratchet and Clank, yeah, a lot of people did get salty. And for some reason, they had to make up this stupid rule, like, okay, from now on, the only people who are allowed to review stuff that are based on video games or adaptations are the people who you have to do your research and stuff like that. Like, I think it's more the fact that a lot of people got really pissed that I didn't play the Ratchet and Clank games before I actually went to see the movie, which really makes no sense considering that wouldn't it be actually good to get the point of view of someone who has never played the games? Because trust me, like, a great example is actually Professor Layton and the Eternal Diva. I remember when I had to review this film, I've never played any of the games, but it came out so beautifully. Like, it's such a fantastic film. But with Ratchet and Clank, like, it was a crappy film. Like, seriously, it just sucked. But anyways, the one movie, however, I will say, like, if I have to pick out what would be the review of the year, it is hands down, no questions asked, Norm of the North. And that movie, my god, it was phenomenally bad. It really was. Like, it really brought animated feature films, like the quality of them, to a whole new low in terms of what you can release in theaters. It was so terrible. But the shocking thing about that review is actually the popularity. Holy crap, I kid you not. It somehow got a massive boost. Like, so many people went to watch it. I don't know if it's because I decided to do that extra little bonus where I did that little vibe of like the facial expressions of the characters in the poster, like, you know, stuff like that. But oh my god, like, seriously, it like right now it actually became, or like as I'm recording this, it became the most popular review I have ever done ever. Like, more so than the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2 review. Like, it really did get that popular. And I think, like, as of now, it's got more, like, than, what, 200,000 views? Like, I know that doesn't seem much, like, if you compare it to, like, the Nostalgia Critic or Jeremy Jahns and stuff like that, but at least by my standards, sweet merciful Neptune, that is quite phenomenal. Hold on, I actually got it right here. Just want to quickly double check on where would I be? Yeah, Northern North. Yeah, exactly. More than 200,000 views. So yeah, it was quite an amazing accomplishment. It really has been crazy, really. And with that said, and like, and by the way, I just want to mention that, yeah, it was definitely a year in which I have done a lot of reviews, by the way. I have done so many reviews of animated films that have been released in theaters, and a lot of them have been out, and this is going to continue in 2017, by the way. And I forgot to mention another amazing animated film that came out in theaters, Kubo and the Two Strings. Hands down, the best stop-motion animated film I've seen in recent years. Like, the best one since Coraline, hands down. But anyways, so that's pretty much all that I want to say about the Animats reviews, the normal Animats reviews. But going into the Animats classic reviews, oh boy, we got a lot of interesting choices and a lot of standout moments. Now, I'm not going to list all of them that I have reviewed, but here are just some of the ones that really have been that memorable. First off, the Animal Farm review. Oh my god. That was actually fantastic. And a great movie, by the way. But I think the one thing that really does stand out that somehow it was a last minute decision to do, but I am so glad that I've done it, is to do like a complete stupid crazy version of Old MacDonald Had a Farm right at the beginning. Just started off with that. And yeah, it's one of those like ideas that are just so stupid. It is hilarious and just pure genius. And honestly, it was a lot of fun. Like, I think I made it when, I don't know if I made it like when I finished the review or when, like, before I started editing the review, but it really was a last minute decision to actually include that little moment right there. It was just a lot of fun to make. And like, maybe the review itself, not necessarily like one of the highlight videos of the year, but at least that opening right there, it really was a standout moment. It was definitely hilarious. And then also after another one that really did stand out was actually Chicken Little. Oh boy. I mean, like, you got the greatness that they have done well with Zootopia, and then you got freaking Chicken Little. The one of the two animated films by Disney in which nobody wants to talk about. Like, thank God this year I haven't reviewed Home on the Range, but yeah, like Chicken Little, it was just, it is honestly the most unpleasant and most non-Disney Disney film. It's like I said in the review, like the best way to describe it is that, like, if nobody would have told me, it was like this would have been made by some half-rate animation studio that wants to be DreamWorks Animation. That's really what it is. And like, it just, well, at least it goes to show that, like, you gotta start somewhere, and you don't have to start out amazingly. Like with Disney, like, they started off pretty low when it comes to computer animated films, but at least you see there is a good progression, you know? Slowly but surely they were getting better with it. Like, okay, then things were picking up with Meet the Robinsons, and then things got better with Bolt, and then things start to really get into gear with Tangled, and then Wreck-It Ralph, and then Frozen, and then suddenly, like, they really peaked when suddenly they released Zootopia and Moana. Like, holy crap, that was amazing. So, yeah, that was an interesting sight to see. But then, oh my god, there was one that really did stand out that unfortunately not even I could escape it. But yeah, I had no choice, but I had to look into frickin' Food Fight. Yes, that was a review that I had to do, and oh my god. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else that you could say other than, yeah, it really is one of the worst animated films I've ever seen. It was god frickin' awful. I mean, it was seriously just so torturous to watch. I mean, the less I say about that movie, the better. But the one thing I will say, like, the greatest thing that would actually come out of me reviewing Food Fight is not necessarily the review itself, but it was actually the editorial that I've done for it, the history of Food Fight and why it's so bad. You know, honestly, like, Food Fight was one of those movies that's just so infamously terrible that honestly, I had to go and turn on my animation look back mode and my animation historian mode and try to do as much research as I can just to find out why it's so bad. I really got to get down into it. And really, it has such a fascinating history. It really does. Like, honestly, like, I would actually consider Food Fight one of the most interesting histories that I had to look into. It really was that fascinating. But then, other than that, there was also the Gay Paris review. Now, the review itself, I mean, it's pretty standard. It's your regular Animats Classic review of Gay Paris. But the one thing that I had the most fun to do is, I actually decided to do an April Fool's video with it. As you guys have seen with the April Fool's video is that I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna troll the people and make a review in French. And not just regular French. It's like some people actually caught on that it was a bit broken French. It's like, oh god, it's like, what's wrong with your French? It's just so broken. You're not from, like, are you Canadian? Like, no joke, a lot of people did say that, which, yeah, that's what Quebec French is. It's broken French. Oh my god. But yeah, like, honestly, I definitely had a blast doing that review. You know, it was definitely funny, and I definitely enjoyed that little moment right there. And then, afterwards, the one classic review that actually started off this whole year is actually Surf's Up, which honestly I am very glad that I have seen, because finally I have seen a good Sony Pictures animation film. In fact, I actually own it, believe it or not. Like, I actually really like this movie, and I would legit consider it an underrated film, actually. It really was that good. I definitely enjoyed it. Definitely deserves to be the only Sony Pictures animation film to be nominated for an Oscar. You know, a lot, like, even though, like, conceptually, like, it's very generic, it's a very dull movie, but the execution on it is quite phenomenal. Trying to do this documentary style, it works out very well, and I truly appreciate it, and I have to give credit to Chris Buck and Ash Brannon for going into the direction that they did. Such a fascinating work, and it really is too bad that the rest of the Sony Pictures animation films are, like, they never get up to that standard, or even, like, or even the fact that they're freaking making Surf's Up 2 Wave Mania. Oh god, that's another thing that they have done. Like, that, I completely forgot. That's another thing that they have announced. Because that's kind of, like, it's completely slipped off of my mind that apparently it was actually this year that Sony did announce that they're doing Surf's Up 2 with frickin' wrestlers. Like, I completely forgot about it, because I remember at the end I was saying, like, oh, it's definitely great that this is the only property of Sony Pictures Animation that is untarnished, and then just a few months later, they announced frickin' Surf's Up 2, where they have to include WWE wrestlers, and, even now, like, I still get comments from people that are saying, like, oh, well, oh, looks like you're wrong, Animat. They're doing a freaking Surf's Up 2. Ah, for fudge sakes. What can you do? It's freaking Sony. But anyways, going back into the highlights of the classic reviews, another one that is actually highly memorable is the Watership Down review. Since, very sadly, Richard, during the days that both Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds passed away, also Richard Adams sadly passed away as well. Not necessarily as tragic, though, because, like, the dude did live a good full life. He died at 96, so, like, it's sad, but not as sad as Carrie Fisher's death. No, but it definitely was a phenomenal film. Definitely fantastic. Definitely, it is, of course, like, a really dark film, but, it definitely was worth it just to see a movie about, like, bravery and survival. And you definitely do have, a lot of memorable characters. Like, the one that really did stood out for me is, Bigwig. Definitely a memorable character. And yeah, of course, you do have General Woundward at the same time. And also, and then you also got that cranky bird as well. Which, the one thing that the one thing that I do remember about it is that, like, the one line that I remember that that really does define that it's not necessarily a movie for kids is when the little bunnies, they meet this little bird, and the birdie tells them, "Piss off!" No, but definitely fantastic. And finally, the last highlight that I want to mention in terms of the classic reviews is Yellow Submarine. And this is one of my personal favorite animated films. Definitely a phenomenal piece, one of the very few animated films that I would actually consider a work of art, actually. Where, like, the animation style itself is absolutely fantastic. And yeah, a lot of people could say that in a way it is kind of like a, more like a music, like more a series of music videos than it is like an animated feature in itself. But no, it's definitely beautiful. It's definitely one of those movies where you really can't go wrong with it. I mean, technically the quality itself is the quality is not like Disney standards or anything, but it works so well on its own. Definitely a fantastic film, and I highly do recommend it. But yeah, overall, those are all the classic reviews that I have done. And before I go and move on from the reviews and all that stuff, there are a few more that I do want to mention, considering that this year I have done plenty of reviews that are not of animated films. Rather it be because I wanted to look at some other Disney films this year, or because there are some Patreon requests that I've gotten that are a little bit different than what I usually get. And they actually came out rather special, I must say. One big thing that I do want to mention, however, was that this year, for the first time ever, I actually got to review a TV show, but specifically, they are animes, but still, I actually looked into a series. And the first thing that I want to mention, like the first one that I've ever looked at, was actually of Holic. And honestly, it really was quite an underrated anime because of how philosophical that it really is. Like, this is one of the very few shows that I've seen that really was thought-provoking. Like, it's not about, like, the action or the entertainment. It's that each episode really does make you think. And even though the animation is not the best looking from Japan, I mean, the designs really are weird, but I would immediately put Yuko as one of my favorite female characters. Definitely an amazing character, and not gonna lie, someone that I would definitely be down to date. But anyways, another anime that I did look upon that was really, really awesome was actually Death Note. Now, that was a show that really had a lot of interesting twists and turns, and you really never know what you're gonna get with it. So it was definitely a very well crafted anime right there. On top of the person who did pledge to me this request, like, he is such a massive trooper. Like, not only did he request me to take a look at Death Note, but I pretty much got the entire Death Note collection now. Like, I got the Blu-ray, I got the whole manga, and I got a few accessories of Death Note, including posters, an L plushie, and all of that kind of stuff. And oh, and even like the Death Note itself, actually. No, but yeah, it was actually really fun doing that review as well, considering that I decided to go all monotone and just flat out do an impression of L, which really was a lot of fun. And, it was actually really interesting that I tried out to put like my own think piece of why the Death Note itself should not exist in this world, because my god, it would just go into chaos. But yeah, it definitely was interesting right there. And finally, the final anime that I did look upon, which at the same time is like, I don't mean anything bad, but it is kind of the weakest that I've seen so far, or at least the animes that I had to review, is Hellsing Ultimate. Whoo boy. Now that, like, it is very well crafted. I will give it that. Like, the animation is great and all that stuff, and you can tell that there is a story, but my biggest issue is just the lack of focus. Like, it almost feels like every episode, it wants to look into one thing, and then suddenly it goes into another. Like, it's like it's trying to do several things, and it's almost like it kind of has ADD or something. So, yeah, it's honestly really confusing, and especially the tone can shift from left and right. Like, you can have some really dark moments, some really violent moments, and then suddenly there are times like when it could just be like a flat out over the top cartoon. Like, for me, one moment that really does stand out that I'll never forget, that makes it so weird, is how there is one episode that literally just starts out with Alucard talking to his gun, which apparently it contains a spirit, and that spirit is somehow Bruce Willis. And all he does is just crack out like Bruce Willis jokes, like referencing so many different movies, like of course, fudge now, but what is it? Die Hard, and also Total Recall, and Sixth Sense, and like it even mentioned, like, it got Forsaken mentioned, what was it? Like, it mentioned Armageddon. And it even made a reference to the Razzie Awards. I kid you not. Like, that is the only anime that I know that it does that. But anyways, other than that, I've also reviewed plenty of live action films, and there are some of those that really do stand out that are actually quite memorable. Like, hands down, the best live action film that I have reviewed, like myself, hands down, The Jungle Book. Like, I'm definitely glad that I saw that. It is, no questions asked, the best, so far the best Disney live action reboot, and it does give me a bit of hope that they can actually be good, like, they can actually respect the source material after going through so much crap with Maleficent and also the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland films. My god. And speaking of the Alice in Wonderland films, oh my god, if there was one review that I have to point out that I've had the most fun to make, it would hands down be the Alice Through the Looking Glass review. Oh my god, it was nuts. And I'm just gonna say this right now, I regret nothing with what I've done. I am so proud of it, and it really was probably my craziest review I have ever done. It is flat out hilarious, and just to say screw it and just actually appear naked, like, that was all worth it. It definitely was. Oh my god. I definitely had a blast when doing it. Other than that, there is actually another review that really did stand out for me. And a lot of people would say that it could probably be the review of the year, or maybe a few others, but like, one of the best reviews I have done, and probably one of the best reviews I have done in a long time, hands down, has to be my review of Bratz the movie. And yes, it still stands for me as the worst movie ever made. Like, hands down, no questions asked. And the big reason is because, honestly, the way that I craft it, like, I don't know how I just got the idea, but I decided, you know what, screw it. I decided to do, like, this complete homage of The Telltale Heart. But not just the Edgar Allan Poe story, but more specifically the UPA animated short. That was actually an amazing piece of work right there. So I decided why not just make an homage to it at the same time with this. It's honestly, I'm very proud of that review. It was definitely a lot of fun to make, so definitely a great highlight right there. But anyways, that's pretty much it in terms of the reviews I have done. And now let us look upon to a few of the top 10s that I've actually made. Like, of course, I have done the the top 5 best and worst of 2015, but this time, actually, things were a little bit different, and I decided to do a top 4, considering that in terms of mainstream animated films, I only had a total of 9 of them to work with. So, like, 4 of the best, 4 of the worst, and 1 honorable mention. So I had to go and do that. But then there was also the top 10 worst animated sequels. And I decided to do that because I know that this was a list in which I know for a fact that a lot of people would really want, considering that I have already done the top 10 best, the top 10 best animated sequels. I decided, you know what, to commemorate the 5th anniversary for it, I decided why not to go and do the worst, which actually really came out as a great big hit, and it already became one of my most popular videos so far, so I'm actually glad that I went and did that. So it was something that I know I could just wait a while and I can continuously change the list. I could add things in the future like Surf's Up 2 or the Nut Job 2, but you know what? If I'm just gonna wait until more worse sequels are gonna come in, then like I'm honestly just gonna wait forever. So yeah, I'm glad that I did it right now, and I'm glad that it's officially done. But then after that, that wasn't the only top 10 that I've made. There was another one in which that was not necessarily as popular, but it actually came out so beautifully, and honestly, it's hands down one of my favorite videos that I've done this year. It is the top 10 best documentaries on animation, and that one, not necessarily as funny, or like, you know, like I do the usual format that I do with the top 10 worst animated sequels, but the one thing that I do appreciate with it is that I know that I put in a lot of heart to it. And this, like, I remember when I saw it, like when I did the final revisions for it to check if everything is okay, like I legit thought to myself that I have finally created a top 10 list that I really wanted to see. Sure, it's not as popular as some of my other top 10s, but you know what? I'm honestly, you know, I'm very satisfied with what I've done. And yeah, this is not just not just one of my favorite top 10 lists that I've made, but this is one of my favorite videos that I've done. And surprisingly enough, even the reception that I've gotten, a lot of people even claim that it's legit my best video that I've done in a long time. So I'm glad that it received such massive praise for it. And you know what? I'm just really happy about it altogether. Okay, so now going outside of the top 10, there are plenty of other things that I've done this year. There was also an interesting shift with the Muppet Vlogs, which 2016, I pretty much filled all my Wednesdays with nothing but the Muppet Vlogs. Originally crafted to do like a little vlog on the 2015 Muppet series, but considering that didn't last long, and it only lasted for like 1 season, and then ABC decided to just cancel it. What ended up happening was that I decided, you know what, I'm not going to fully let it die, and I'm actually going to do a Muppet vlog of The Muppet Show. So, you know, to really crank things up, I decided like every week I would release 2 episodes talking about The Muppet Show. Now, I know for a fact that it is not my most popular video. Like, even nowadays, like, every episode, it only ends up getting, like, I don't know, like, 200 to 300 views, like, after a few days or something like that. But you know what? I personally enjoy doing it. It actually serves as a great reminder that, like, it's not necessarily for the, like, making videos is not necessarily for the money, it's not for the views, but, you know, it's to do something fun. You know, basically, like, it brings me back to the good old days when I was just doing videos for the fun of it because it's something that I like to do, and I love watching the Muppet Show, and just talking about it's a blast. So I'm definitely doing a lot. I'm definitely having a lot of fun with it, and considering that throughout 2016, I would say that now I'm about like 3/4 into the Muppet Show, because technically there are a grand total of 120 episodes. So I'm just gonna keep on going, and in 2017 I'll probably be done. So at least I'll just have that. And then afterwards, there is another thing that I do. It's not just my Wednesdays that I completely fill up, but it's also my Sundays now, considering now I do highlights of the animation podcast. And this is something that I am so glad that I am actually doing, because this is actually helping me out financially as well. Like, it is such a massive hit, and whenever like an animation podcast actually gets popular, like on my YouTube channel in terms of the highlights, like, my god, like it can be as successful as the Friday videos, honestly. And like sometimes, like, it can happen, like it's not all the time, but like there are a few gold moments, like whenever I would do trailer reactions, or basically when I would just slam the Emoji Movie, just like the one recently with the teaser trailer. So that was definitely great. It took a little bit of a while to convince Filmbook to actually do it, to tell them this would be great promotion for the animation podcast in general. But yeah, like, I'm definitely glad that I'm doing that there. And speaking of Filmbook, like, I'm still doing that right now. Like, it's still going well. I'm still doing like Movie News Weekly. I'm still doing the animation podcast, in which that one I absolutely adore making. And on top of that, I also do Blu-ray reviews. They don't happen all the time, but they're definitely a blast just making them. And often, like, I can get some great I can get some great movies, like, surprisingly enough, though, the one company that's been the most generous in terms of giving me Blu-ray, like giving us Blu-ray reviews, is actually Disney, oddly enough, because so far the best ones that I've got that I can think right out of my head would include these would actually include, fudge nabbit, what was it? Yes, the Jungle Book reboot, and also Finding Dory. Which, the Jungle Book, I just want to add, I feel extremely guilty. Like, I might have said this before, but the thing is with the Jungle Book is that I paid absolutely nothing to I paid nothing for Disney for the Jungle Book, because I got an advanced screening to go check out the movie, and also Disney sent me the Blu-ray, so I paid no money for it, which is too bad, because it definitely would earn my money. But yeah, like, those are the best ones, Jungle Book and Finding Dory. And at the same time, there was also like, I've reviewed a lot of really terrible Blu-rays of Ice Age Collision Course and Norm of the North. So yeah. And I think in terms of the Blu-ray reviews, of course, Norm of the North is actually the most popular one, because who else would actually do the job? Who else would be crazy enough to do the job to take a look at not just the movie of Norm of the North, but also the Blu-ray of Norm of the North? But yeah. But at the same time, I also tried some new things. I also tried to do some stuff that is quite experimental. One of which being loot anime. Now, I don't know how to feel. Like, technically, if you're looking into the financial aspects of it, I don't know if it's a success or not. Like, honestly, the whole thing with loot anime is just something that I wanted to experiment. If anything, like, the best thing that came out of the loot anime commercials is the character of Animace. Which, by the way, I might have said this before, but also, like, this Christmas, I actually got, like, a blue shirt that now I can have, like, that one that actually does fit me now. So, but yeah, so I don't know if I'm going to keep this up. I think, like, once my contract with Loot Anime would end, then I think I'm just gonna stop it right there. I don't think I'm gonna do more. And if I'm gonna do, like, another Loot Crate style video, I'll try to make sure that I'll go into a specific subject that I am familiar with, So at least I'm just gonna go and do that. But One thing that I did actually do that really was a lot of fun was that I think this is actually my first time that I actually did a crossover where I was physically with the other reviewer, in which I actually did a crossover with Joey from Cartoon Palooza for the Smurfs review. And honestly, that really was a lot of fun, and I would say that I had a major blast with Joey. He's a fantastic and awesome dude. You know, that's definitely one reviewer that I'm glad that I can consider a friend of mine. And we definitely had a blast just doing the doing the Smurfs review. It was definitely a lot of fun. Like and also on top of that, not just making the review, but also hanging out down in downtown Montreal. That was also a blast. Just showing him around the place. You know, like it was definitely a nice highlight of 2016 for me personally. Just hanging out with with Joey. That was definitely a lot of fun. But if there is one big highlight, not for me, but mostly for my YouTube channel itself, is that I am actually glad that I have accomplished I'm actually very glad that I did accomplish a New Year's resolution that I wanted to do, and I'm pleasantly surprised that I actually accomplished that so quickly. Was that I actually made it and made 50,000 I actually gained 50,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. And honestly, it was a personal goal that I wanted to try to achieve. And there was at one point, probably a month after the top 10 worst animated sequels or something like that. It happened in August, I recall, where I had a massive boost, to the point that I gained so many subscribers. It was just crazy, and it was just bam, 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 and then suddenly, I made it to 50,000. It was such a great goal. So now, the next big goal that I want to try to achieve is 100,000 subscribers. Now, I don't know if I'm going to make that in 2017. Who knows? But let's just see what happens. For now, it's not really when I want to, when specifically I want to achieve it. It's more that I want to achieve it. So let's see how it goes from there. But at the same time, not everything is pleasant during 2016. Outside of the news, there are a few personal gripes that I have to go and fight with. If you guys remember, one of the biggest controversies that did happen in 2016 in terms of videos is actually the big campaign of Where's the Fair Use. Now, I know that there are different versions of it as well, another version that is quite popular as well, as much as Where's the Fair Use, was Make YouTube Great Again. And with Where's the Fair Use, that was a big battle that even I tried to fight out, where I put in my personal piece, and I was even trying to fight my own copyright battles. So I remember I actually did a couple of videos in which I was pretty much exposing the illegitimacy of YouTube's copyright system, and it was a massively big battle. But if I could look back into the fight and how I am right now, I would say that, yeah, I would say right now, as I'm recording this, I'm almost to the point that I could proudly say that I won. There was one instance in which, the page that I have on my YouTube channel where, I can inspect all the videos that got a copyright claim or stuff like that, it was, purely clean. And I am so glad that now I was able to upload the missing reviews that haven't been on YouTube for a while. I was capable of legitimately putting up the review of South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, and also the SpongeBob movie Sponge Out of Water. So I was so glad that I'm able to put that up. So now all my reviews and all my videos are finally up on YouTube. I'm glad that I'm capable of doing that. So I'm glad that now you can fully check out my library on YouTube. So at least now I got that done. So, I feel pretty proud. Technically, there are a couple of more of claims that I have to fight, but I've been through it all, so it'll be easy for me. But then at the same time, there is one small thing that I did as an addition. It's mostly regarding Patreon, where I decided to do a few switcheroos in a way. I decided to do a few cleanups in which, well, not cleanups, but I mean more, like, decided to go into one section of my Patreon and try to switch some things up. And that is mostly the rewards that you guys would actually get. So I decided to switch to go and clean things up, to switch a few things, and so far with what I have, I'm pretty satisfied with how with my Patreon is looking right now. So yeah, like, at least it's all good, it's all clean, it's all fine. So the only thing that I have to do now is just try to encourage others to go and support me on Patreon. And I'm still aiming for that goal to get $1,000 a month so that I can actually do some Let's Plays. So I can't wait to actually go and do that. So yeah, that's like, if we want to go and get that to happen, we got to go and encourage others to come support me on Patreon. But I do have a lot more in terms of how many patrons I have. So to all of you, I say thank you guys so much. And I really do hope that Patreon is worth it for you. But, like, if I have to go and pick out the biggest highlight for me of 2016, like, if there's one moment in which that I could take 2016 and I'll fondly remember it for a very long time, like, if there was one moment, it would hands down be Con Bravo. That was the moment in which, for the first time ever, I actually came in as a special guest. And my God, it was, I would almost say that it really was a dream come true. It was so awesome to go around, to be a special, to be a guest. And a lot of people just recognizing me, like, every time, like, I would walk around, like, a lot of people just noticed, like, hey, Animat, hey, and they would ask for my autograph, take a picture. Like, yeah, I would feel like a superstar, but like, it feels honorable to actually meet some to actually meet face to face with some fans. But on top of that, like, one thing that was truly amazing for me, like, that was such a wonderful experience, was how I feel so accepted to the reviewing community. That's where I feel like, I feel so honored to be a part of. Like, I was mostly hanging out with some people like Mikey Insanity, Kaluna Reviews, what was it? Dominic Smith, and also Tristan of Glass Reflections, and also a few others. Like, and I actually got a chance to actually hang out with Linkara and Nash of Channel Awesome. So, and on top of that, I also met a lot of fantastic people. I also met a few others. I met Vangelis, I met Diamanda Hagen, I met her wife, Amanda. So many people. It's just, it was a great honor. It was such a blast, and I couldn't thank these guys enough. I couldn't thank the people at Con Bravo enough to give me such a wonderful opportunity. And if I would ever get the chance to do it again, not just necessarily at Con Bravo, but to be a special guest at a convention, yeah, you know what? I would be down to do it, That would actually be really awesome. But yeah, so definitely that was the big highlight for me for Con Bravo. And yeah, that's basically my whole story of 2016. Now, as we look upon when we enter into 2017, what is it that we could probably expect, or at least in terms of my videos? Well, so far, I mean, I got another animation look back coming up, so the one after Looney Tunes. Actually, that's one big thing, is that pretty soon I'll be finishing off animation look back Looney Tunes to really cap that off. Sadly, honestly, it's also going to be not just the end of animation look back Looney Tunes, but also it's going to be the end of the Muppet vlogs, actually, which I just want to say right now, no, sadly, I'm not going to continue the Muppet vlogs. I'm not going to do the ones afterwards. Like, I'm not going to be looking into the Jim Henson Hour or Muppets Tonight or stuff like that. I'm just going to be, I'm just going to end it off right there. Also, so, like, but other than that, yeah, sorry about that. But other than that, I would say that You know, at this point, like, we can pretty much expect the unexpected. Like, you guys can expect a lot of great reviews coming up, and I'm sure that I know that the most anticipated review from me would be my review of the Emoji Movie, so keep an eye out on that. Yeah, a lot of reviews. The next animation look back, which I already chose, you'll see, it'll be quite an interesting one. Let's see, other than that, I do have some top 10s that I have planned to do. It'll be quite interesting to see how you guys feel about it. And other than that, well, who knows? Let's just wait and see what 2017 has in store. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you guys for joining me on this grand adventure in 2017. And let's just go and hope for the best in 2017. So with that said, Happy New Year. Hope you guys had a great 2016 as well. And with all that said, see you later, dudes.